We are live. Hey, Stacy, how are you?
Great. How are you?
I am great. Welcome to the day after Thanksgiving, November 24th, 2023. And this is Real Estate Now. And I have to play our curtain warmer like we always do. But I'm trying to find it.
Oh boy.
See, this is what happens when Keegan is not here. We love our Keegan. And so when Keegan's not here, I have to run the show. And I'm not seeing it right now. So we'll have to come back to that. Um, anyway,
We'll
so
run it
think
at the
about
end.
some really cool disclosures and disclaimers that the views and opinions of the show are ours and not of our companies. So anyway, well, welcome to Real Estate Now. It is the day after Thanksgiving. How was your Thanksgiving, first and foremost?
Mine was amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just thankful for everything, all the little things.
And beef? Thankful for beef. And beef. Stacy was sharing backstage that she had an amazing dinner last night with her and her family. So here we go. We have an amazing show coming up about amplifying your influence and your presence and all that. But before we get to that and bring in Rene as our guest speaker, we have our Fast Five. So let's jump right into it. Fast Five number one, which is really scary, is Realtor Commissions. The lawsuit is now in a court battle. What do we think, Stacy?
So there's this guy on Instagram. His name's Jared James. And
James, okay.
Yes, I think everyone should follow him. His take was fascinating to me. So he was saying that they won because they hired the best and the brightest, and they spent more money on their attorneys, right? Just like it matters who you hire, just like for agents. So he thinks you could hire a less expensive agent. You can choose, it's all these choices. Same thing that happened with the attorneys. He thinks that there should be a counter to the legal system. The attorneys are price fixed. I just thought it was hilarious. I'm not worried about it, honestly.
So this is the U.S. News article I just shared in the chat. This is what really, really scares me. Nicastro says there could be a larger move towards real estate attorneys, which is interesting. Kind of seems a little self-serving. But number two, rather than agents, but buyers could go it alone. I just want to say that this is a developing story. There's lots going on here. However, I think at the end, the fundamental restructure of this is going to not impact the real estate market in any sizable way other than where the fees get paid. Is it on the buyer side or is it on the seller side? But there's still going to be amazing fees being garnished here. So I think this is a developing story that will continue to follow, but it's in court. It's going to get appealed by NAR. It's going to be long in the tooth. So long story short, right now in today's real estate market, folks, this has zero impact. Real estate is open for business.
It doesn't scare me that says mobile buyers can go alone. That's the same thing the attorneys were saying. You can represent yourself. How many people do that? You can represent yourself right now buying a house. Not many people do that.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that just for 2 seconds because we got to move on to our other Fast Five. I do not represent myself when I get a tooth extracted, when I get my bones set, when I have anything major in my life happening. And real estate, folks, is major. It's a major thing. So you should have professionals. There's a reason why you hire a professional. And there's a reason why you pay a professional. Ouch, sorry.
Wow.
Just broke my hand. I hit my coffee. But you gotta hire the right people. Okay, share number two, hut rate hike. So there's some really interesting conversations going on right now with rates, Stacy.
I think we're done hiking.
I think we're done hiking. I'm gonna try to reshare this. I think it's this one. Right here, the Fed. Oh, whoops, hold on, wrong screen. The Fed is actually talking about when they're looking to slow down and stop. And they're looking that they might actually forecast a rate decrease here in the next 4 to 6 months. So that's a really big change in the financial world. I think we'll see how that plays out in the economic numbers. But that's a huge change as far as the momentum of the Federal Reserve. So that's going to be great.
I think we're at the
what say
bottom,
you?
the very, 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 very bottom. Yes. If you hadn't bought a house yet, rates start dropping, prices are going to go up.
Yeah.
Back to how it was.
All of the above. Okay. So next one, appreciation. Let's talk about appreciation. So appreciation year over year per Redfin, our fine folks over at Redfin, is 2.2%. CoreLogic says it's 4.1%. Long story short, why are we talking about this?
I don't know, because the media says prices are going down.
Yes, because the media says prices are going down. Real estate agents are saying prices are going down. Yes, I would be misrepresenting if in some markets, some price points, there is a relaxation in the appreciation. However, if we look at the totality of the real estate market, we're still appreciating, folks. And here's where the rubber meets the road. The second those rates start coming back down, appreciation is going to go parabolic. So I just want everybody to realize, if you're a first-time home buyer, this is a great time to buy because there's not a lot of competition out there. So once we get back there to a 6% interest rate, you're going to need an extra $50,000, $100,000 and waive everything on those purchase and sale contracts. So there you have it. Outside looking in, Stacy, you shared with me the other day, Morgan Stanley said that there is going to be a depreciating event. It's really interesting. They're the only ones saying that. Mm-hmm. So either Morgan Stanley, in my opinion, correct, I'm curious what you're thinking, is they either needed to get some clickbait out there and draw a headline so they had more people going to their website for some way, shape, or form, or they know something that we don't. And in the article, I'll throw in there on our chat here. So what's your 2 cents on that one?
Well, I mean, there's so many different companies that monitor this, and they're the only one. So I don't put much stake in it. There needs to be an outlier. There always is, right? So
right. So we're gonna go 2 thumbs down. We're gonna go two thumbs down. Okay. Final of our 5 top gift ideas for this holiday season. What are your kids wanting, desiring, longing for?
I don't have any major gift stuff. I don't know. I don't know what the hot toy is. This is like making me nervous. I don't know what it is.
The hot toy?
I think Furbies. Are Furbies back?
Yes, we looked this up the other day, and I'll share it right now on the screen. The Furby is back. So the top 5 gifts added. Top 5 gifts are a Furby interactive plush toy on Amazon right now. Furbies are back. Wow. So after 10 years, here they are back again. The Barbie Dream House, which makes sense. You know,
yes.
My job is beach. I love it. Macy's Fingerlings, cute interactive baby monkeys for your fingers.
That was a thing years ago too, I feel like.
Yeah. So, and then the e-dog and little live pet mama surprise, which I'm thinking is gerbil over here on the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You have 5 things listed, and 4 of them are fake animals.
Yes.
Kids just like fake interactive. Anyone need like a business idea?
There you go. I like how you went there. But so there you go. If you guys want to get back after the Furbies, they are fashionable again. So there you go. Maybe if you have these old Furbies, you can put them back out on eBay and get something for them. So yeah. So there you go. There's our Fast 5. Stacy, we have an amazing guest today. I am super excited. Why don't you intro our guest for us?
Well, let's bring the one and only Rene Rodriguez in.
Right on. Welcome, Rene.
Hello.
Rene, what would you say is your, how do you introduce yourself when you're on stage? Because you're a national speaker, you're in all the magazines, you're everywhere, right? So
introduce myself.
How do
you guys introduce me?
I know, but no, when you explain to somebody what you do.
The simplest thing is a best-selling author and keynote speaker. Probably the two simplest
Okay.
ways, but then the best one, I always tell people, it's interesting. The best thing I tell people is that if they've had an experience with me, to speak from the heart.
Hmm.
So I would say, what would you say?
Well, I would say, so my recollection of Rene is I met Rene in the middle of COVID, like the start of COVID. And I don't even really know how, but we ended up on a phone call together. And I wanted to go to one of your Amplify events, and they were closed, right? Because of COVID.
Yeah.
So I remember saying, well, I'm going to pay for it now. And then whenever the world opens back up, I'll do it. And I don't remember, it was like a year and a half later. I mean, it was quite a while later when we finally like met, but for whatever reason, just that first interaction, I feel like changed my life because I met you, and something in that conversation got me to really want to get more connected to you and your thought process and how you teach and learn and speak and all the things. So I don't know, it's just an impactful conversation.
See, that's a way better introduction than I could have given.
Yeah.
Well,
What you teach, right?
Yeah, I got to meet you at Motivate, Rene, and I'll say this.
It actually made me bring tears to my eyes, but Rene knows me and I cry, so
That's so sweet, Stacey. That means what you said. Thank you.
So I grew up, Rene, in a household where you didn't show emotion, right? I grew up in a business environment where you didn't show emotion, you just got to work, and when I walked into your Motivate seminar, I was like, okay, great, here we go. We're just gonna have another rah guy up there. And you were the first person on the stage that I've ever seen in my 24 career in mortgage that said, bring your emotion, bring your whole being to what you're doing and put that in your business, right? Up to that point, everybody said, hey, leave that at the door. It doesn't belong in business. And so it's a really powerful thing. And I try to put that back into my business. And it's really interesting because then you have conversations with Stacey's of the world that everybody has these emotions, but everybody's kind of like keeping the lid on top of it. So you changed my life in that respect, that it's okay to bring everything you are because that's who you are to your business. So it's a little bit more real.
Really cool. It's interesting. On that concept, I've spent my dissertation in college was on human emotion. Back then, this was 1997, 98. Wasn't much on human emotion. And so I've spent most of my career trying to get people back in touch with emotion. And what's interesting, over the last 6 months, I'm telling people, okay, now we can slow it down a little bit. And, it's, which I never thought I would say, but I think that there is emotion is a really important part of life that can bring the color and the beauty to life. It can also bring massive destruction if it's not under control. And you think about kids that can't control emotion. On the extreme would be a school shooter, right? You cannot control the emotion and it just goes. To an adult male, can become violent if they're overly uncontrolled of their emotion. To a society that listens only to their emotion, we make very irrational decisions. And so, it's one of those that we have to understand its role. We have to understand the beauty of it, the need for it, and the passion that it can bring to a presentation, and how it can connect us to one another, and it can bring an enrollment and engagement to a group. But then the overly emotional leader can maybe lash out. And so, having that temperament and to be able to understand, well, obviously it's emotional intelligence to know when and how much and how far to do it. And so it's an interesting topic that is needed. And then you go, okay, so in a time like this, if you get overly emotional, then you're going to get scared by what the media says. And then I say, don't listen, to your emotions. When it comes to weight loss, you cannot listen to your emotions when it comes to getting your health in order. My health wants to eat the strawberry rhubarb pie that's downstairs. Obviously, my emotions want to eat that, but that's not going to help me. And so I have to say, screw my emotions, screw how I feel this morning. I didn't want to work out this morning, but I had to say, screw how I feel. Get up and get in the gym. And so it's this weird sort of balance of when to listen and when not. And I think that's when you can start realizing the sophistication growth of the human person, I guess is what I would say.
Nice.
Yeah, that's interesting. You have a whole different topic now to unpack for the next decade, I think. But yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yes. All right. Well, let's jump into Amplify Your Influence. And can you share, I know a little bit, but can you share how you developed these strategies over the years? And what are just some of the very, very key principles for people who don't have the background on Amplify Your Influence?
Sure. Yeah, the book, I think it's right on your side. I think I had it laid down here, but I think it's here. Get it. Oh, you can see it there.
We'll put it in the chat. Everybody needs to buy Amplify Your Influence, Transform How You Communicate and Lead.
Yeah, I'll see if I can spread the wings out a little bit. There you go.
Yeah.
It should have been up there earlier. So the book was created on a culmination of a lot of different things. First, my experience as a sales professional, selling cookware, and then selling training and development, change management, and then doing change management, working with leadership teams, looking at the real true behavior change process and the neuroscience behind it, and then looking at anthropology to sociology to philosophy, and because a lot of it comes from Aristotle and understanding argumentative thought and thinking and morals and ethics, and then looking at the psychology of what drives human behavior and realizing that it's very different than what people think. And then sort of the shift of saying, so why is it public speaking or is it influence that you want? Because I go, okay, let's play that out. I know a lot of people that are great public speakers that don't influence much. I know people that are horrible public speakers that are so influential.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, well, what if you could be a really good public speaker that also utilizes the art and science of influence? Now you're deadly in the best possible way, right? And so it's really combining both of those pieces and saying there is a sequence to how the brain processes information. There are a lot of factors that play into that we're unconscious about, like our body language, our tone of voice, our pacing, the silence, the micro expressions, the macro expressions, placement of hands, words choices, but sequence, all those things are all part of that equation. And then you look at the inner work of authenticity. Say, okay, well, how do I become more authentic? Well, that begins internally with getting in touch with who you are and what you believe. And so, well, I don't want to do that part of it. Well, it's going to be really hard then I got to teach how to fake your way into believing something. Or how about we tap into what you believe the most and then just let that shine. That'll be really cool. So those pieces like that, I think, are the culmination of what happens in the book. It walks you through from beginning, top to bottom, all the way through to the end of the application, along providing the neuroscience of it, the stress management side of it, to the delivery, to the creation, to the crafting process, to the feedback process, story creation, you name it. So it's pretty intense.
Do you recommend people who are going to go to your individual, more private events, 10 people or so, to read this before they go or after?
I used to think no, but now I'm absolutely sure yes.
Okay.
In the beginning, I wanted it to be sort of mysterious and things like that, but I've come to find out when they read the book ahead of time, they come in so prepared with so many more questions. And we move so much faster. And then they've read it, they've lived it, and then they go back and read it again, and they go, and it just kind of reignites the content in a new way. They see it in a new way. And the book, I think that my favorite part of the book, it's funny, is the index. Because it's like, why? I was like, well, I talk about emotional intelligence. Oh, hold on. Go to the index, these 16 pages. I go right to it. And it's like the reverse, it's like the old school Google, right? And, you can Google by just looking at the index. And so, but that's the value of doing with a publisher versus just self-publishing, because, they have the resources to be able to really create a strong, powerful index.
Yes. That's great. Keith?
Yes.
Did you want to ask a question or do you want me to go?
Yeah, I was just grabbing my sheet here.
You never have pauses like that.
Yeah, so no, I was just grabbing my sheet. I didn't have it yet. So I I got a really quick question because I'm rereading the book. I'm a Audible guy, so I've downloaded it and listened to it a couple times. I want to talk about, in the book you mentioned something about framing,
Mhm.
right? You mentioned a lot about framing, and I want to talk about when we go out there, because Amplify is about influence, right? And I think one thing that you mentioned in the book a lot is about failure to frame. And in that situation, you're losing your influence. So could you speak to how
Sure.
important framing is?
Yeah. So framing's deep, really,
Yeah.
really, really deep. I mean, it's a lifelong study to really understand it. And the reason it's so deep is because it's the way we construct reality for ourselves. And you think, oh, public speaking is all these things, but you have to really truly understand, if you're trying to influence people, how does that person I'm influencing perceive and construct their reality? And if I can understand that, then they can tap into the formula, into the variables and the pieces that help them do that and shape that. And so if you look at, let's take a look at this example of, finish the sentence. Perception is what?
Come
Perception,
again? I couldn't
perception
say that
is
again.
Perception is what? Perception is what you
Reality.
believe.
reality, right? That's what everybody says. And so, but now, if I need to have an advantage over you, and this came from Andrew Bustamante, who's a everyday spy, who's a CIA spy operative that left and now is sort of sharing his secrets with the world, which is really, really fascinating. Super nice dude. And I've been talking about this for a long time, but I love his example of this. Saying, okay, so perception is reality, but only for you, and it's only for me. So right
Yes.
now, the three of us have three different perceptions, which means three different realities coexisting. And the relationships are formed, the communication is really designed to merge those realities and those perceptions into one thing. That's where we try to create cohesion in the team. Not easy to do. So if you think about it from a spy perspective, I think it's also from a salesperson perspective, a recruiter perspective, a manager's perspective, and a leader's. We're looking for advantages in how we operate and navigate the world. And if I choose my perception as reality, I am at such a disadvantage because I only have my own. But just in this conversation, there's two others. I've got 33% of the equation. And so he says, you got to move off of perception and stop giving your perception so much weight. And this is my interpretation of the and how I look at it. You got to stop giving it so much weight. And I got to stop moving off perception and into gathering perspectives, spending time from Stacy's point of view. What was it like being a female growing up in a predominantly male world in a business and still dominating? What's going on in her head? Because it's different than everyone else's. Not everybody else did that. What's Keith's world like? What does he view the world as? And if I can understand both of your worlds first, and then compare that to my perspective and my perception, now all of a sudden I have a much better and more accurate view of what's going on. And so those perceptions help me create a frame. And that frame helps me derive meaning of what's happening. That's the second most important part of the job of the brain. The first part is to keep us alive. The second part is to make and interpret and add meaning to what's going on. I hear a snap of a twig in the forest. What does that mean? I better derive meaning for that. Well, if I hear a snap and a growl, I can pull from my past frames of reference to go, those two things together, not a good sign. If I'm in the forest, I better move. Now, I don't need much more information than that to make a decision.
Right.
Do this like that. And so if I were to say to you, and by the way, we have to frame things. And either me as a speaker should provide a frame, or my listener is forced to create one. Why are they forced? Neurologically, so that they can have their reality constructed, right? So we're constantly doing this. If I were to speak without a frame, tell me what word comes to mind. Used car salesman.
I'll pass.
Slimy.
Yeah.
You'll pass. Say what again?
Slimy.
Slimy, sleazy, right? Dishonest. All those things that come up to mind. Well, so that's what happens when I speak without a frame. You just added your own. And so you interpreted one occupation and you added all of these judgments. Well, how? Why? You had to access your past frames of reference bring those into the current to construct this reality of this person in front of you. We do this unconsciously, non-stop. And so there's millions of applications of this concept. I just happen to use it towards influence. We also use it in selling. We also use it in change management, strategic planning. We use it in talking with our kids. We use it in raising our kids. We use it in talking to teachers. It's endless because every human needs to construct reality. And if my job is to influence into that world, I need to understand how they construct it. And they just did this really cool study. And I just read about this. I'm gonna dive in deep. I saw it last night, where they took people and they said, we're going to put you into an interview with face tattoos, right? So we're going to paint these face tattoos on them to see if the world judges you at all. And so they painted all these face tattoos on the person. And just before they went in there, they did a touch-up, right, to touch up the makeup. Little did they know what they were doing was they were removing the face tattoos before the actual interview. Then they went into the interview. The person did not see their own face. They walk in assuming they have these face tattoos, and they reported back what was it like. Oh my God, they were so judgmental. They kept inappropriately bringing things up. You could tell that they just didn't like me, and all of these things. They had no face tattoos.
Wow.
But they thought they did.
Right.
So based on their frame of reference and what was going on in the face tattoo framing and their assumptions that go along with it, they started constructing this to fit that, even though it was completely erroneous.
Wow.
And so now let's just unpack that for a minute and look at how far we can go with that and say, okay, well, what if I was told that rich people are bad by my parents? What if I was told black people were this way, or white people were this way, or women were this way? What if I were told that bald people are a certain way? What if I were told, you know what, our family never will do X, Y, and Z. Managers are always this way. They've always lied. Just the amount of assumptions and frames of reference in which we operate, we're going to construct a world and a reality to fit. And so I thought about that. And of course, I've known this, but when you see a study that's that blatant, you go, wow, what else am I falsely creating?
Yeah.
Well, how about the media saying, well, interest rates matter? They don't matter.
No.
They're a part of the process, but they shouldn't carry the weight that they do. People say, well, I want to wait till interest rates come down. Cool. Then you want a higher price? The house? 85 offers on the same house? Let's battle it out and let's make that right. But let's get you a low interest rate on an overly inflated place. Well, I don't think about it that way. Well, of course you did, because you've been trained. And sorry, loan officers, this is your fault. Why?
Yep.
For the last 3 years, you've been saying interest rates are lower than ever. And if you train an audience for years to pay attention to that, what happens when you can't control the fact that they go up? You got to get back on the go. Just kidding. For the last 3 years, hey, they're not that important. Even though I've been telling you this over and over and over and over and over and over again. They're like, no, we're good. We're going to wait because you told me they were good. No, but I didn't. But you told you. Were you lying to me before?
So many loan officers out there like that.
Oh, it's nonstop. And I get it, by the way. I get it. But you have to be smarter than that. You have to really realize what we're doing. And it all comes down to understanding what you can control and what you cannot control. And my value proposition, I have a rule. If I cannot control it, it is not a welcomed value proposition. It is a circumstantial time in the market. Should you take advantage when they were low? Absolutely. Refinancing? Absolutely. But that's not part of our home ownership equation. But I'm going to tell you, when they go up, you're still going to need to buy a home.
Yeah.
Right. And so I would use that language. But if it's something I can't control, it's not part of my value proposition, because I'm not going to put my whole career in the dependence of something I can't control. Just can't. So this is all. See, we can just go on and on framing and what it means.
Well, framing is a very powerful thing. I was told by somebody a long time ago, in the presence of rules and understanding, people make up their own rules. And when I got into the framing side of it, I'm like, wow, that's the same paradigm right there. And so it's so powerful.
So let's say, I'll finish this one thought out if you want. So if I want to influence you, I have to influence the frame of reference, and I have to claim a new one. I have to be able to control that conversation in a different way. So, like, I'll give you an example. My grandfather was in Cuba before the Cuban Revolution. He was there with his wife, which is my grandmother, my aunt, and my mother. And he saw the Cuban Revolution was about to begin and knew that that was not a good thing for the family. So he knew he had to get his family out. So he wrote a letter to the President of the United States at the time saying, if you get me and my family out of this country, I'll come in and fight for yours. So somehow that letter made it to the right person, and they pulled him out. And he served 8 years in the American Armed Forces. And after those 8 years, he finally made his American dream. He landed in Homestead, Florida. Now, if you know anything about Homestead, Florida, there was nothing there at the time. The only thing that was there was Patrick Air Force Base. So his American dream was limited to how far he could walk. But there was somebody who believed in my grandfather, saw what he did for this country, and got him into an older vehicle. And that older vehicle allowed him to extend his reach by 25, 50, sometimes even 100 miles to find better employment, make more money, changing the trajectory of his life, my mother's life, and ultimately my life. And that person who believed in my grandfather was a used car salesman. Now, in that, did you have any sleazy, bad thoughts?
No.
Right. So all I did was offer a new frame. And if you bought into that frame, that interpreted and created new meaning of this individual, which happened to also be the same thing that previously, without the frame, we thought was a horrible human being. And so that's the power of shifting reality and interpretation and perception, is through frames.
It's mind-blowing, isn't it? I just love it. I love all of it. Okay, well, we are running out of time, but I want to definitely ask you this. Can you share a memorable or impactful moment from your career that just has helped shape your approach to leadership, family life, coaching, whatever you want it to be, but just an impactful moment?
Well, there have been so many. Every single Amplify becomes an impactful moment. Listening to your octave is an impactful moment. Well, the reason is I get to hear so many stories. And wow, I think it's realizing how much people hold on to from their past. And this might not be popular opinion, but think that therapy is the only solution. Therapy is a great solution, but sometimes so are decisions. Sometimes things just require a decision to not live in that anymore. Sometimes it's a decision to forgive somebody of the past and to take that power back and realize that, hey, maybe that decision, instead of being so traumatized by the past, to love the past because it created who you are. And if you realize, if you really truly love who you are now, then you have to love the formula that created you. And oftentimes that formula is tragedy, suffering, and trauma. And it's the traumas and the suffering and the sacrifices of my life that have given me the perspective and the compassion and the contrast to be able to enjoy the things that I can, and the ability to build rapport with people that are in suffering. Well, why can I build rapport? Because I know suffering. I know what loss is, and so I can go there with them. And if I can go there with them, I can help them out. And so I thank God for the worst things in my life, because they give me the sweetest gifts and the sweetest lessons. And they give me the contrast to appreciate the good. If you've never had any loss, then how can you appreciate what you have? It's what happens with trust fund kids, and they have so much money that how can they appreciate the value of a dollar? And it's the worst thing you can do is do that to a child. We've robbed our children of disappointment. We've robbed our children of suffering, of loss, of feeling. Those are awesome experiences, to not make a team and get cut, and to realize, well, I didn't work hard enough, or maybe that's just not me. Let me go another route. And if I'm used to disappointment, and I'm realizing the disappointment, loss, and suffering and failure is part of the journey to success, it's not traumatic anymore.
Okay.
It's part of the equation. And we have labeled so many things to be traumatic. They're part of the existence of life. Not saying it's not horrible. I'm not saying it's not sad. I'm not saying we shouldn't cry together about it, or maybe talk to somebody. But what if we said, you know what? Good. Now you're going to understand this level of pain and how to get out of it. And then one day, you're going to be able to help someone else. That level of purpose, to me, is there. We have robbed our kids of that. So I don't know if that's what your answer, but that's what was on my heart.
Yes, no, I love it. Yes, perfect.
That's a great answer. That is super awesome answer. So Rene, how can people connect with you? Where can they find your book? How can they learn more about amplifying their influence?
Probably the easiest way is to follow me in this little thing right here, Instagram. Learn with Rene. Learn with Rene, R-E-N-E. You go to my website, meetrene.com, M-E-E-T, not M-E-A-T.com. I don't know where the other one will take you. But meetrene.com and yeah, send a message out. We do a video a day on these topics. We don't miss, and it's been really fun to watch our social media grow as a result of it. So please.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Right
share
on.
so much. You just give it out in abundance to the world. So it's amazing, incredible. I appreciate you, friend, always, and I enjoyed this conversation. I needed to hear it all today. So just
love you back, my friend.
thank you.
It's such an honor to be there with you guys, and so glad that you guys are still pushing forward during this transition. They need you guys as leaders right now. This is the time that we need to lead harder. We need to push harder. We need to get people to outwork whatever's going on. It's temporary.
Yep.
Yeah. The next 90 days. And my good friend Ben Newman wrote a book called The Standard. And he said, what if you worked so hard, such a big goal, and the goal was to not recognize who you were in 90 days? What would you do? Like, I don't even recognize myself in the best possible way.
Wow.
It's just 90 days. We can make massive changes in 90 days.
Yeah, absolutely. Right on. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great holiday season. And we've got your Instagram handle on there as well as meetrene.com. So reach out. Feel free if you have any questions or you want to engage more with Rene, please do so. And Rene, as always, thank you. And we'll catch you on the next go around.
Thank you both.
Yep. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Right on. Well, there you have it. Stacy, enjoy the rest of your Thanksgiving vacation. And
thank you.
Looking forward to seeing you stateside. And for all of you out there, we wish you a very happy Thanksgiving and holiday season from Real Estate Now, and we will catch you all on the next episode.